Hello Gemini and third house Sun. Welcome to today's astrology segment on happiness and joy through forgiveness of self. Because guilt and not being able to forgive what you are sometimes what prevents you from fully enjoying yourself. So let's have a look at what is going on with you. Well, Gemini is somebody who has the most capabilities in terms of money, manifestation, joy in general. You are somebody who's really wired up to be in joy, to be forgiving of others left, right and center, because other people can't freaking get it yet. They can't quite crack the codes, they can't quite understand, and that's something that you really excel in, and that is why we are drawn to your frequency, only to push you out of us later, because we can't keep up with you, Gemini. You are somebody who is like a god on earth. You've got an amazing feeling. You've got like such a voice when you sing or you laugh. You've got a sing-song experience that we really admire and we're really afraid of, and we're tortured by sometimes because we can't quite yet conceive how you can forgive and forget so easily. And far and wide, Geminis have been somebody in our field that has always been customary as a certain like inner preconception buster, like a crucifixion of our old and the elevation of our new. I mean, if Sagittarius is kind of like the king of the zodiac at present, evolution of human capabilities, I feel that you guys are like the awesome culminators of the bad, the worse, and the ugly, just to make it all better, brighter, bluer, and funner. Like, you just point out what is wrong and give us more through knowing that which is good. It's like you just know, you crack codes, you look at us and you go, okay girl, you know, you got this and you got that, but then you got this and that, look, just follow that, stop doing that, do this. And you are somebody that can really crack a lot of joy codes for us if we listen to you. Now if we don't listen, your task is hard. And often with the Gemini, you will find a twin. You'll find a woman or a man or a partner or a lover or somebody you're a little bit obsessed with, and they just don't freaking have any idea as to where you go. But the ironic part is that often they do know after you're gone as to what you meant, what you wanted. They kind of click, oh, that's what he wanted, or like, oh, that's what she meant. And that is something that you don't usually satisfy yourself with knowing later, but later happens a change for you too, as you kind of understand why they were like that all along. And a certain like information portals created between people then, as you sort of cherish what they were once to you, or perhaps you cherish what they didn't have and now they have because of you, but at the same time you understand that what they had before was wealth as well. And that's something that happens with Gemini a lot. As to the blueprinting of other people, it happens very fast and very subtly, that you know, and you can really connect a lot of different people together and a lot of minds in a very different way, and you've got this really incredible feeling towards which we just run and just fall all over, because we know that you hold within us something that is very pure, or hold for us something that is like going to be a gem later on that we don't yet understand, and we sort of can't help but listen and hear you in a big way. But what happens is often, sometimes Geminis don't see that people know who they are, and they have to overgo they overstep. Like, they have to be very learned, they have to be very particular about how they communicate or how they are, because they fear the fact that people don't freaking get it yet. And they feel that they've got to chew things over and represent things in a certain way in order to kind of be of service or be of certain type of frequency that people can digest. And when you are like that, we can't get you at all. So when you're not true to yourself, Gemini, which is pretty much most of you guys out there these days, when you're not true to yourself and you're still reliant on that certain outfit, or you're reliant on that certain way of speaking, or like that way of being, or like you're still reliant on that kind of like knowledge, on that certificate to show other people, to prove to them that you know, come on, look, I've got the certificate. We kind of get really freaked out by you a little bit, because it's like you are proving something that's already there, you're proving something that already exists. Like, for example, if you're somebody who's looking towards the stars a lot and looking to learn about the esoteric things a lot and looking towards like a very different perspective, and you're like trying to find the way by trying to find the right books, and you're like walking all over yourself. Just 1 second. Sorry, just replying to something not very professional. But yeah, like if say you are trying to build yourself out of the tangible, Gemini, you're not only in the wrong, but we can't get you. Like, we can't get you, and if we can't get you, then we are not very pleased with you, and you're not really satisfied either, because what's going on is you've got a lot of disconnect when you are trying to build yourself out of another thing. When you're trying to show people that you know, you need to prove a point, and you need to point to the reference, and you need to have somebody else back you up, because Gemini is not really about that. Gemini is basically the opportunist and the optimist and the person who's a freak because they just freaking know. And they're a freak because they can fucking tell. And they're a freak because their mind is sooner than their brain, if that makes sense. The brain that accumulates the information, and the like mind, the high mind, they just crack, there you go. I don't know how. And then of course our universities and our political systems and our government, show me how you did the work, show me how you came, because it's all Saturnian, it's all bit by bit. No, it's Plutonian as well, but it's like, show me how and why, show me how and why. And Gemini's got conditioned to have to do the work to show how and why they can crack the code. And sometimes when they do too much work, they get too much going on with their degrees and the proof of their truth, and the assimilation into different tactics in order to be heard, in order to be understood. They have no one. And often that means that they feel nurtured by things and experiences that are private. And that means that sometimes Geminis can lock themselves up away from other people for a long time, just not to be fooled, not to be fooled around by other people anymore, and not to be put through some kind of a weird scrutinizing meat market machine, you know, where they're like pulled into one person, pulled out of another. Like, they don't want to be like just like a piece of bread that's being dealt amongst many people. Because, you know, we see a Gemini as soon as we can see a Gemini with third house sun, we just freaking know you. We know you. And then when you come to us, we just want you to freaking do it, whatever it is you do. Whatever it is you do. We want you to alchemize us. We want you to talk about the weather, whatever you want to talk about. And sometimes with you, and this is not yet understood by society, the nonsensical response, the nonsensical remarks, when you say something as if you freaking like fooled yourself onto saying things, or like you just made an embarrassing comment, or you made an embarrassing face, or you burped in public or something like that. You do something and we actually love it because it actually connects us to you better than when you present yourself in a certain way. And that's something that is very funny because I feel that you are very much enjoy when you just know that you can be you, but because of how this place has been working for a long time, you feel like you can't be you. So be you, Gemini. And then what is you? Well, you is not what you see, and that's very hard to understand. You is not the system, you is not the schooling, you is not the parents, you is not the friends, you is no nothing. You are somebody who's actually made to be something complete within oneself, without like gemmed, you know, like a gem, you know, you just accumulate all the minerals, all the information, you just become, and there is no real way as to how. And despite the schooling system and what they tell you to read and the esoteric systems and different ways that people socialize, despite all that stuff, you're just already there. It's like you're the diamond in the rough. You're a diamond, and it doesn't really matter where you are, where you learned from. However, when you feel that learning is more important than you, when you feel that learning things, because you know you got the direct connection with Saturn at the moment, actually, in Sagittarius, and for the next while, like 2 or 3 years, actually, it'll still be like an aftershock of that learning. I have to learn something, and I have to commit to somebody. I have to commit to something or somebody in order to be right. There will be a lot of people coming to you for the next while in order to give you something great. but they're not giving you something that great. You know, they're just giving you a limitation, and through limitation, of course, you learn at the end that, oh, I could discard all that, because everything that you come to in this life is just like a mineral. You absorb it, and then you become something else, and that sphere around you sort of distorts and resolves and results in another sphere, and another sphere, another sphere. So you sort of like don't have to worry about what you are accumulating around you, because it will all be absorbed and kind of thrown out. It's like you're a sponge. You know, like you sponge it up and then you move on to a different dimension, you sponge up more and things like that, and you grow. And I have a feeling that whatever you're feeling now, especially as Saturn is going through the opposite sign of you, is going through Sagittarius. And then, of course, Jupiter is just coming into Libra quite soon, so going out of no man's land in Virgo. But I feel that whatever you are going through, Gemini, at the moment will change. And if you're watching this like 2-3 years later, as if this channel will be up for that long, I have a feeling that whatever you do with yourself has to be through completion of tasks, in order to just be still and not worry about what you have to start. Because there's a feeling in Geminis collectively for the next few months especially, I feel like you have to freaking start everything over. You have to freaking start everything over, and you've got to do things anew, and you've got to like learn. Oh my god, I'm not keeping up. You've got to freaking complete what you've done, and complete it, and then you feel happy. Like, say, even if you've chosen a course, complete the course, freaking finish the course, and then start anew if you want to, start a new learning if you want to. But I feel that Gemini won't be feeling completeness until they understand that they just have this. They just got this. You got this. You got joy and optimism as like a side effect of your birth. And it is something that we can't understand. So what to do? Just basically complete what you're doing. If you are still studying, if you're still looking, if you're still wondering, complete the tasks. And then just feel what you've done. And sometimes you can feel that you wouldn't have done it without the course, but often you'll actually find not. Like, you did the course, you invested a few grand in your schooling, or in this person, you know, whatever. Like, you've invested yourself, and then you're like, I kind of knew that all along. You know, I kind of knew that all along. So when it comes to joy and entertainment, you just got to go out and find it your way without other people involved for a while. And I'm sorry if that sounds really weird, but it's like Gemini will find joy wherever they go, and humor sort of persuades them into different positions in society and different positions in reality constantly. And I feel that when you're alone, if you haven't got a partner that you completely knit with, like you're alone and you can just go for a journey, go walking, find something, go sit at a bar. It's pretty weird, pretty odd, you don't like the gut feeling, you move on, you go somewhere else. And I feel that the more you travel, Gemini, at this time of society, of this time, maybe to like the late century, seriously, the more you move around, the more you travel, the more you just walk about, oh look at this, oh look at that, like oh look, I got, you know, fingers, goodness gracious, and you like learn about the world through your own primary experience. I feel that the more you'll grow and evolve into laughter eventually. I think that the less you study and look into a book for information, or the TV screen, or this YouTube channel, or anything like that, I feel the less you just stare at another person, or like another person's, you know, exotic understandings, or, you know, like regurgitated knowledge. I think the less you look at other people's perspectives, the more you look at yourself, and the more you look at the world through your own ridiculous prism, because you've got something special. You've got something special. Another astrologist said, Astrolada actually, I listened to her video once, and she said that there are some stars in Taurus and Gemini that are the wealth-making stars. And that makes you really lucky from birth, ultimately, unless you got some really freaky placements with like Chiron and Lilith and things like that. But most Geminis, they have luck. And they're like almost impenetrable when they can laugh at pretty much anything. And that includes society. And that includes the pecking order of social economics and social whatevers, you know, and schooling and things like that. When they can laugh at this whole community of people trying to get what they need out of one another, and they can just be in joy and be in complete emptiness sometimes. Empty-minded Geminis are the best Geminis. empty-minded and slightly shallow and a little bit ridiculous. The more you can feel ridiculous and the more you can feel flamboyant. But that's another issue. Sometimes to your joy, the road goes through ridicule of self. And sometimes Gemini will feel, not often, this is not everyone, but like they'll feel that they are not quite there yet, that they are ridiculous, that they're doing something wrong, they're placing themselves in the wrong level of reality, they're placing themselves in the wrong way with people, socially, unacceptable, anything like that. That needs to change, because really people love you when you can be that. And sometimes it's like being the most weirdest person in the world, and sometimes it's being the smartest, most politest person, but whatever you feel right inside, as that's the key to your joy. Anyway, in terms of money and economics, I feel Gemini knows the way when they listen to their heart, because it's like part of their inertia. Because the inertia kick-started in Aries and it still continues all the way down to Gemini. Inertia is deep in Taurus, but then by Gemini it sort of gets a little bit diluted. So by the first part of Gemini you still got a lot of inertia. By the end of Gemini towards Cancer, it's pretty much almost already gone. So it's like the last echoes of inertia that were created as a kind of like an energy wave from Aries. From the first gust of Aries at about 2 or 3 degrees Aries in the Western zodiac. So when you are sort of looking at yourself, don't commit to any kind of crime or deed. Don't commit to anything, because you're not meant to be in a committed anything, because you are the Joker. You are the Joker. You are the free one of the zodiac. In terms of human resources, human beings and human things, I feel that you've got a lot to learn still energetically, because you're not yet there. You're still relying on a lot of Saturnian and Plutonian knowledge in order to get you somewhere. And even a lot of like mind business with people, or how to dress to, you know, attract a certain type of client, or how to be to attract a certain type of mate. Any kind of like, that kind of like thing, how to act in front of certain types of people, that needs to stop. Because we don't need you like that. We need you to be completely uninhibited. And the more you are inhibited, the more we teach you to be otherwise. The more you will be sort of butting heads and falling over and crumbling and cracking if you don't commit to yourself as yourself first. In terms of music, I feel like Korean music for Gemini is something that is very potent in meaning. And sometimes meaning can take you way off center. Because you're just meant to be humble and just funny. And sometimes because of the music industry and the meaning that we've put into music as a society, it can be quite hard. But if you just like freaking love your ukulele and you just carry it around with you and just like making songs on the spot, that's perfect. Gardening. For some reason I want to say gardening and nurturing realities, where you're sort of trying to accommodate to somebody else, as in like a later Gemini in later years, and you're sort of becoming more like Cancer, your next sign. I feel that gardening and any kind of nurturing arts are really carefully planned, meticulously made, and very specifically put together, that don't quite last but really bring a lot with them. And I feel that Gemini in time, by their 40s or 50s, can really accelerate the growth of plants and accelerate the growth of themselves through the plant kingdom, through the nurturing arts, through the Cancerian energies. In terms of children, they're really awesome parents, they're great parents, but they have to rely on their humor a lot. So basically whatever you are doing, rely on yourself, and the joke within carries you forward. Anyway, thank you very much, Gemini. Thank you very much for hanging out with me and chilling like a villain. I hope you enjoy this broadcast. If you like my broadcasts, you can book a personal broadcast or a reading or a Skype session with me in the link below. Check out my art, check out my stuff, check out my music. Maybe I'll put some music up there soon. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.